Look at this cartoon. This is how the Communist Party of India saw Subhas Chandra Bose drawn as a donkey carrying Japan's Prime Minister Tojo. In another cartoon, CPI warned that Bose was just a mask for Japanese imperialism, and even Gandhi wasn't spared as they ridiculed him. These weren't harmless sketches but weapons of propaganda, printed in CPI's People's War at the peak of India's freedom struggle, attacking the very person raising a liberation army. This is the story of how communists and imperialists collaborated to crush India's fight for freedom. In the early 1920s, the Communist Party of India was barely a whisper, a handful of scattered groups, fewer than a dozen members. While Gandhi led millions with salt marches and spinning wheels, CPI was hiding in back rooms with red flags, talking about workers' rights. By the late 1920s, CPI gained momentum, strikes, peasant protests, growing influence. The British struck back in 1929 with the Meerut Conspiracy Case, arresting 31 communist and trade union leaders and charging them with trying to overthrow the Raj. A 4-year trial almost destroyed them until sympathy from Congress leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru gave them unexpected legitimacy. By 1934, CPI was banned, its leaders jailed, its presses shut down. They should have been finished, but instead, they tried something bold. Through a united front with the Congress Socialist Party, the banned communists slipped into the nationalist movement. But this wasn't just politics, it was a Trojan horse. And the real orders for CPI, they weren't coming from India at all. The CPI wasn't born in India. It was founded in October 1920 in Tashkent by M.N. Roy, funded and mentored by Moscow. CPI wasn't independent. It was a branch of the Communist International, founded in 1919 by Lenin to direct revolutions worldwide.
Moscow believed that India was not ready for communism yet. So the CPI, when it was founded, the party was created artificially without any grassroots support and without any grassroots intellectualism. There was no indigenization of the theory. So what did they do? They sent Indian Marxists for mentorship and coaching under the Communist Party of Great Britain, because the Communist Party of Great Britain had a half Indian, half Swedish professor, Rajni Palmedat, who's still part of the syllabus in India because he's the big daddy of all the CPI members.
One year, they ordered CPI to denounce Gandhi and Congress as class enemies, so our comrades did. A few years later, Moscow flipped again, this time pushing the Popular Front. The order was simple: infiltrate Congress from within. And once again, they obeyed, donning Gandhi caps, marching at rallies, and infiltrating nationalist-dominated unions and student groups. But just when CPI had built influence, World War II broke out, and Moscow's next orders would turn Indian politics upside down. In September 1939, Hitler invaded Poland. Britain declared war, and without asking Indians, Viceroy Linlithgow declared India at war too. Congress itself was divided. Gandhi and Nehru personally sympathized with Britain. But on the opposite end of the spectrum was Subhas Chandra Bose, who argued India shouldn't fight for its colonizer at all. As a party, Congress passed a resolution: India would fight fascism, but only as a free nation. Gandhi kept it subtle. India would continue its struggle for freedom, but he wouldn't directly obstruct Britain's war effort. CPI had a different take. To them, this was just one imperialist fighting another. They mocked Gandhi's neither or nor policy, branding Congress leaders bourgeois traitors. But then came June 22, 1941. Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union. Overnight, Moscow allied with Britain. The communist fatherland was under threat, and so CPI flipped completely. The same communists who sabotaged Britain now called it a people's war. Their new mission? Support the British war effort unconditionally. From sabotage to servitude, the flip was complete, but the darkest betrayal was yet to come. August 1942. The Quit India movement erupts. Millions joined protests, strikes, and sabotage campaigns against British rule. The British respond with brutality. Before dawn on August 9th, Gandhi, Nehru, Patel, all jailed. Congress banned. Villages bombed. Tens of thousands shot dead. And where was CPI? They were helping the British crush the Quit India movement. Their newspaper, People's War, called Congress leaders traitors. Subhas Chandra Bose, raising a liberation army abroad, was mocked as Hitler's puppet, a paid agent of Japan, and the advance guard of Tojo and Hitler. Behind the scenes, it went deeper. CPI leaders who'd earlier infiltrated Congress were spying for the British, feeding reports on underground nationalist networks directly to colonial intelligence. In March 1943, CPI General Secretary P.C. Joshi personally sent British officials a thick bundle of reports boasting about CPI's splendid work, breaking strikes, disrupting Quit India protests, and keeping British war factories running at full steam. The same leaders who once called Britain imperial oppressors were now helping them crush India's fight for freedom. But even that wasn't their final act. To rebuild their sinking popularity, CPI made one more move, one that would scar India forever. By 1945, CPI was deeply unpopular. Indians saw them as collaborators, so they turned to Muslim youth and the Muslim League. The same league they once called feudal and reactionary was suddenly secular and anti-imperialist. CPI openly supported the demand for Pakistan, hoping to rebuild their influence and membership among Muslim youth. In doing so, they gave intellectual cover to the very idea of dividing India. And when India finally won independence in 1947, Communist Party of India stood with forces that planned communal violence across the nation and tore the country apart.
It's very, very curious. But if you read the writings of the younger revolutionaries of the 30s, many of them went to jail as nationalists and came back as communists. And if you read their memoirs, you will see, and many of them say with some surprise, that why is it we were provided with all this Marxist literature in jail, and they would be provided huge amounts of Marxist literature. Now, we can debate why is it that you would be providing some dangerous ideology. Even the British considered Marxist ideology to be somewhat dangerous, but it is possible that they thought that this was a good way to split them.
The Communist Party of India claimed to fight for workers and freedom, but in reality, it fought for Soviet interests, even when that meant betraying India's independent struggle. The British found the perfect antidote for nationalism in the form of communism. Sometimes the most dangerous enemies aren't the ones who oppose you openly. They are the ones inside your camp holding your flag.